WP1 is our first major writing project for this semester. This time around, what you'll be doing is analyzing a piece of writing from your field. So what you'll need to do is find a piece of writing that was written either for your major or for your future career. And the piece of writing needs to be written by an expert for other experts. So this means that you'll mostly be looking at scholarly or professional journals. If you're not really sure what that means, don't worry about it too much yet. I will have two videos explaining the stuff that we've covered so far in this. Figuring out what your field is and what you're going to choose for your field for this semester, and figuring out how to find a good article for WP1. After you do have a good article in place, what you'll do is you'll analyze the features of the writing, including how people use language, what citations they use, what non-linguistic elements they use, and how they organize the writing, among other things. Specifically, I want you to try to figure out what's unique about writing in your field. Please take a moment to read through the objectives on your own. It's worth noting here that this is a minimum of 1,500 words or the multimodal equivalent. What I mean by that is that you can choose a form other than a traditional written paper for this. You could make a video, make an animation, make a podcast, make a web page, make an infographic, and so on. I put Prezi in here, but I really don't want you to do that one, actually. I've had people do them a bunch in the past, and they usually turn out really poorly. I'd prefer you do one of the other forms if you choose to do one. Regardless of what form you choose, if you choose a traditional paper or you choose one of these alternate forms, you must include one mode other than written text. So for this one, it makes the most sense to focus on the non-linguistics elements and take a screen capture of those when you're putting your project together. So that if people are using graphs or charts or images or whatever, take a screen capture of that within the actual article and to show us what it looks like. You have a completion draft due on September 15th. Completion drafts are just getting it done. So it's making sure that you have everything necessary for the project, but that it's maybe not polished yet. I do want to point out this is not a rough draft. I want you to have a full, complete draft. You'll do the rough draft on your own time. Final drafts, which will receive the full grade for the assignment, are due on September 24th. When you submit, you'll be submitting in Google Drive in a folder that you've shared with me already. There will be another video about that in the future explaining how to do that. Please name your documents really carefully using your name, the class, and the assignment. This just makes it much easier for me to search and save documents and not lose track of whose is what. If you're giving me a traditional text document, you'll submit it as a Google Doc folder in Google Drive. If you're submitting a multimodal assignment, you can upload the files directly to Google Drive, or you can upload them to somewhere like YouTube or SoundCloud or wherever, and then just make a Google Doc and put a link inside of it, whichever works best for you. Now, the basics are just like the overview of the assignment for this. The basics are what you receive a grade on for the completion draft. Just making sure you understand these basic points here. The completion drafts are graded, as you would guess, mostly just on completion. Did you do it and did you check off all these boxes? Not how well they're actually done. So it's entirely possible to get an A on a completion draft, but still just end up with a C for the final draft. So do keep that in mind. Your grade on the completion draft is based only on completion, not how good it is. So the steps here that you need to follow are determining what field you would like to focus on. Again, there will be a video with more information about this next week. Choosing a single article or other written document by an expert in the field for other experts. You will ultimately receive a grade on this part. Did you choose something that is by experts for experts? Make sure you read your article carefully, and then I want you to pay attention to these four specific areas in particular: the use of language, For example, do they tend to use active or passive voice? Do they use I? Do they use simple language? Do they use a lot of specialized jargon and stuff like that? And so on and so on and so on. Take a look at the language and see what makes it kind of unique. What citation practices are they using? At the basic level, you want to just say what citation format are they using? Are they using APA? Are they using MLA? Are they using Chicago? Are they using Turabian? Are they using something weird, And then, most importantly, are they sticking strictly to it or are they modifying it? Generally, most journals actually do modify the citation format, and it's not in the way that the guide actually tells them to do it. So I'd like you to try to figure out what ways are they modifying that citation format. Anything unusual about the citation format is fair to discuss. Why are they using this? And try to make a guess as to why they've chosen the citation format over another. Why APA over MLA, for example. Now, the next one is probably going to be the biggest one because it could be so many different things, but what non-linguistic elements are they using? Do they use charts? Do they use graphs? Do they use equations? Do they use symbols? Do they use images? Do they use models? And so on and so on and so on. It could be any number of things, basically anything within the text that's not language. So what ways are they communicating using stuff that's not language? So how are they using it? How do they convey meaning to the audience? What is it about this thing that's important for communication in your field? And finally, what organization style have they used? How is the text set up? Is it something really familiar to you? So for example, often in science writing, they use the IMRAD format where they have introduction, methods, and so on and so on and so on through the whole thing. If they set it up in that traditional like IMRAD format, why did they set it up that way? If it's modified, why is it modified? Now, not every field is going to use that. Even fields that typically might use IMRAD don't always use IMRAD. And so take a look at what other organizational style do they use. In particular, pay a special attention to where is the main point of the article stated? If there's something like a thesis statement, is it at the beginning or is it at the end? Do they use things like headings and subheadings? And if so, how do they use them? How do they decide to break things apart? And then try to guess why you think that they structured it the way they did. Why is the thesis statement at the beginning in this article and the thesis statement at the end in this one? Try to figure it out. Your main focus should be only on the article you've selected, but you are welcome to mention that you have knowledge of the field in general, as long as you stay focused on it. So this is not about all writing in your field, it's about writing in this specific article. So please do keep that in mind. Okay, so here are the grading criteria. These are really important to go through, but it would take a long time, so I suggest you go through them carefully one by one on your own. Please note that each grading criterion has 3 levels to it. It has exceptional, met, or not met. The exceptional level means that you've done an exceptional job, means that you've done a really good job with this. You're really clear, you are including enough information, and I have an easy time following it. Met just means that you're meeting the basic expectations for that criterion. So with selection of article, you are at least finding an article that's written by experts for other experts. And then not met means that something is missing. So you aren't quite meeting my minimum expectations for that grading criterion. Again, please read through each one of these carefully. None of them should be too surprising. There's stuff that we've already talked about above. Now, your grade will be determined based on how many of each of those grading criteria fall into the exceptional, met, or not met category. So as you can see here, you get 100% if all 12 of them are in the exceptional category, a 97.5% if you have 11 of them in the exceptional category and 1 in the met category, and so on down the line. It's worth noting that if you have 1 in the not met category, it cancels out 1 in the exceptional category. So let's say, for example, that you have 9 in the exceptional category, 2 in the met category, and 1 in the not met category. That means you'd end up with 8 in the exceptional category overall. You have 9 exceptional, but you have 1 not met, so it cancels out and you end up with 8 and you'd get a 90%. If you have any questions about this, please ask. It's worth noting that you are required to ask one question about WP1 in the questions forum today. So feel free to ask about anything that's confusing to you about the assignment, anything that you want to know more about, or anything just in general about how this assignment may have been handled in the past, or just anything that you're curious about.